Now, for examples 3 and 4, before we do the check, we have, for example 3, we just have to multiply. To multiply complex numbers, remember we just have to follow FOIL, which we learned in Algebra 1. If you guys forgot, we know that to FOIL, all we have to do is what? Double distribute, right? So this real number is going to multiply by -5, and it's also going to multiply the imaginary number. Same thing that's going to happen with the imaginary number. It's going to multiply -5, and then it's going to multiply the other imaginary number. Only thing that we have to consider or remember from what we read in pages 275 and 276 is what if I have I squared, it's going to give us -1 as a result. So now let's proceed. So we know we're going to have to do the double distribution or FOIL. 2 times -5 gives us -10. Then 2 times 2i gives us plus 4i. Then I plus I times -5 gives us minus 5i, and I times 2i gives us plus 2i squared. Now if we remember, I squared was what? I squared, this guy over here is -1. So right now we have 10, and then 2 times -1, which is -2. So if I add correctly, we're going to have -10 plus 4i minus 5i minus 2. If you notice, I haven't put this in standard form. Now we add them all together. So real with real, imaginary with imaginary gives us -12 minus I, which is already written in standard form. Let me rewrite it again. Standard form, which is the same as the one above. There we go. So that would be the answer, or how we would multiply. Now in the other one it says write the quotient. We're dividing complex numbers. It says write the quotient of 6 plus 4i divided by 2 plus I in standard form. Remember, in standard form we cannot have imaginary, so there must be a way to get rid of this 2 plus I from the bottom. Well, how do we do that? Well, the first thing it says multiply the numerator and the denominator by the complex conjugate of 2 plus I. We have to remember that the conjugate of 2 plus I is what? 2 minus I. Why are we doing this? Because we want to get rid of that. If you remember, if we have 2 plus I on this side, we want to get rid of that 2 plus I. And in order to do that, we have to multiply by the conjugate. The conjugate of 2 plus I is 2 minus I. When we multiply by the conjugate, we'll be getting rid of that. So then all we have to do is multiply the numerator and the denominator by what? The 2 minus I, which is the complex conjugate of 2 plus I. Now all we are going to have to do is what? Here we have 2 minus I, 2 minus I. We proceed to multiply. We know that the denominator directly, because if you remember this little difference of squares, remember? A minus B is what? A plus B A minus B So directly the denominator we know is going to be what? 2 squared, which is 4, minus I squared. That's my denominator. My numerator, I have to do the same thing that I did in example 2. I multiply, which I FOIL. So it's going to be what? 6 times 2, which is 12. 6 times negative I is negative 6I. And then I have 4 times 2 is plus 8I. And 4 times negative I gives us negative 4I squared. When I simplify that, I do the same as I did in example 2, So it's 12 plus 4. Remember that negative 4I squared is the same as negative 4 times negative 1 from the I. So it gives us 4. So I have 12 plus 4, which is 16. Then negative 6I plus 8I gives us plus 2I, all divided by 4 minus I squared. Remember, I squared is negative 1, so it's 4 minus minus, which is plus, so it's 4 plus 1, which is 5. And then we have to write this in standard form. To write this in the standard form, we have the real part first. 16 over 5 plus 2/5 of I. And we're done. The only key thing here when we're dividing complex numbers is that remember that you cannot have an imaginary in the denominator. That's why you multiplied it by the conjugate.